We are live. Welcome to the Random Party Generator. I am one of your multitude of hosts, Eric Tenkar. With me is the one, the only Rob Conley, Mr. Bat in the Attic, uh, holding up that side of the show is the one and only Chubby Funster.
Hey,
Hey,
hey.
hey, Ruffy boy. And you may know him as Flint Fire Forge. We know him as one of the members at this third Tuesday, right? This is the last session coming up. Flint Fire Forge, and that is your panel tonight, folks. Unless Mike
Decent panel.
decides to join us, I don't know. We're random. Uh, yeah, but by the way, here we're going to start out with the obvious part. Ernie Gygax passed earlier today. Passed this morning around 8-ish or so, from what I understand. I am not going to pour out a little bit of my Rockstar because it will go over my keyboard or my floor. Um, Ernie was suffering from heart failure and kidney failure at the time of his death. I don't know what actually was the cause of his death. I'm assuming it's a combination of both. But it was apparent last night that Ernie was going to be passing. Luke got a late night flight out from the West Coast, and the family gathered as soon as they were able to. Um, Here, I'll make a very simple statement on it. Nobody leads a perfect life. Ernie certainly did not. Ernie was very open about his past and about his past struggles with addiction. Um, uh, some of his choices later in life were probably not necessarily the best, but his wife Donna was probably the biggest blessing in his life in all his years. So our thoughts go out to her and the rest of the Guy Gax family. It literally sucks. I mean, anybody our age that passes is passing too early. Just my opinion. Some people might say, "Well, we've stuck around too long," but we're already losing the old timers. We're like a half a generation behind them, or a generation behind them, and losing members of this generation is just way too early. So
How old
uh,
was he again?
I think he was around 59, 60. I know he's the oldest child of Gary. Luke was one of the young. Well, I guess Luke was the youngest from the first batch of kids, and then Alex came with the second marriage. So Ernie is the junior in the family. Gary Gygax, his full name was Ernest Gary Gygax. He was the senior. Ernie, or as some people like to call him, Gary Gygax Jr. Ernie never went by that, as far as I know, but some people like to tack that on to products. Um, was He was also known as what, Tensor, right? In the early play tests of the early campaigning of D&D. So I mean, yeah, Mr. Gunn, yeah, it's sad news about Ernie. I think this is my thoughts on this. I think one of the few people that this really surprised, and none of us wanted to see it happen, but it wasn't a surprise. I think it surprised Ernie the most because Ernie just a few months ago was talking about being put on a heart transplant list, and not a medical professional, but if you have failing kidneys, they don't generally give you a new heart. That's generally not so. I think that Ernie really expected to be going home and not wrapping up his adventure in the hospital. So again, sympathies to the family, the siblings. His mother, Mary Jo, was still around. She's still alive. So just it just sucks all around. It really does.
Yeah, I think he's my age. I think he was born in '65, the same I was.
Yeah, like I said, he's too young for this to happen. But
Well, did you play? Because I have no personal experience with him. Did you play in games with him, Eric?
no, I actually met the I met Ernie in person back in 2016 at my first my first GaryCon. I had reached out to him, I think, in 2014 when he was hospitalized, and I believe this is when he was, I believe this is when he was fighting cancer and fighting his alcoholism, and he was trying. He couldn't afford the meds that the doctors were trying to put him on so he could get released. And I mentioned it to Rach, and Rach was the director of a drug and alcohol treatment program at the time. So she found some alternative medications that had similar efficacy, but were probably going to be under his insurance, and they were. So in 2016, when I met him face to face, he thanked us, thanked me because Rach wasn't there. Thanked for the help in getting the medications in order, and then showed me that the monies for the memorial tomb, which was already long in the tooth at that time, were still in a bank account. They were still there. And at the same time, he was telling me stories about how he was doing cocaine with his father, and as a youth in his 20s, selling drugs in Lake Geneva. He was very open about his past. Ernie was not a closed book. He was an open book. In a lot of ways, he seemed like to me like he was a bit of a Peter Pan personality. Uh, Not fully grown in that maturity level, always having that exuberance of youth. So I think that if you talk to people that really knew him well, I think they'll probably say something similar about his personalities. That Ernie always had some exuberance, always had some joy about him, and yeah, some of that requires a little denial of reality. Yeah, we're already doing it. This is when I guess what's her name, the one that came in and was pushing Gary out. Name escapes me at the moment.
Lorraine Williams.
Oh, thank you, Lorraine Williams. I was When Lorraine was pushing him out. She initially pushed him out to the West Coast to take care of the D&D cartoon and whatever the film industry was going to be. And Gary rented a mansion, and according to Ernie, they were partying with West Coast elites, including drug dealers from Mexico and quasi Hollywood stars and stuff until the money ran out.
Let's just
So
be honest. They were just testing harlot tables
I
and
know.
other random generation. I mean, it looks bad on the police reports, but it's fine. Don't worry about it, man. It's no problem.
It
Yeah,
was completely random. I
Market
rolled a 6 and
research.
it said do coke. That's what it said.
So I mean, listen, these are the stories I got from Ernie. I would assume he had no reason to embellish because, in my opinion, it wasn't making him look any better. You're not impressing a recently retired cop telling him that, hey, I used to sell drugs in Lake Geneva. That's not going to impress me. But it was Ernie being truthful, and that's one thing that he probably maybe had too much of was his ability to, uh, I guess, be self-deprecating and just not really be concerned about talking about his history. So yeah, listen. When I was talking with Ernie that time, my funny story was guy. I recognized him from the vending room because I was working the vending room. He was some vendor for some company. Couldn't tell you who it was, but he comes up. He's talking to Ernie in really bad code. Like the bad code in college. And it's like, hey, Ernie, you got a bud for a bud? And so right, and I'm like, because if I can get if you had a bud for a bud, I think I can get laid, but you really want a bud. And Ernie's like, we're at the Grand Geneva. No, I don't have anything on me. Oh man, Ernie, do you think you could get me some? Because I was like, and I'm like, my God. And that wasn't Ernie. That's just some random jackass who thinks that Ernie's gonna hook them up with marijuana so they can get their ass laid. And that was back in 2016.
You could be honest and tell people that it was Joe.
Joe wasn't there at I don't think Joe's ever gone to Gary Con. I haven't gone back since.
We all know he has a good friend named Bud.
Hey, we all got a good friend named Bud. Hey. But it was really it's like, I mean, dude, wait till the conversation's over and then try to see if Ernie's got an illicit substance on him. Don't, I'll talk in code because this random white guy that Ernie's talking to down a hallway away from everybody else will never understand that I'm asking if Ernie has any marijuana to sell me so I can get some lady to hop into bed with me.
See, the fact that you realize that could have been a risky conversation is why you are not a member of the criminal class. But this guy is he probably got caught doing something else. Who knows if he's stupid enough to hit people in public like that? Yeah.
I just like.
Oh, Mr. Gunn, Joe. I know he will disagree with my characterization, but Joe has entered his artsy phase where he has begun expanding his own content creation on his YouTube channel. He's been refining his craft carefully after years of me badgering the shit out of him in order to write stuff that I
don't
knew he
take
had.
credit. Oh, no. You don't get to take credit. Just sole credit for that. We all busted his balls on that one.
We all did. But
I got the best initiative on that battle, though. Come on.
I disagree.
I was.
I think Tim had the best.
How many times did you say Blood Island, Rob? Really? Versus how many times did I say Blood Island? I ribbed his ass every week for not writing Blood Island. And he should have.
I think it lives in the same illusion that the Rob AI lives. So.
Well, Rob AI is real, and one day I will begin just creating an infinite stream of Black Marsh related products using Rob AI, and I will just crush you like a little bug. You'll be
whatever helps you sleep
by Rob AI.
Whatever helps you sleep.
Well, now if we're gonna do this Rob AI or this Black Marsh AI, all the maps that are generated have to be able to line up. When you put them next to each other, the maps got to line up there, even if they're randomly generated. The edges are going to have to line up from map to map, so you could do an
overlap by a quarter inch.
You're going to have an infinite. You have to have that built into the AI, or else it's not a legitimate Rob AI. I'm just selling it. Okay.
I'm going to have it so that, like, in the PDF, it's going to be a dynamic PDF powered by Rob AI, and if you click on any particular word, it will trigger a massive info dump in a pop-up window related to that word. You click goblin, it'll be like goblins were first used in this culture in 1282, and then they might.
I'm detecting hints of jealousy there, Greg.
Oh shoot!
I'm just saying that's how Rob AI is going to work.
Listen, Greg's a little testy today. He actually had to work at work. Okay, that's what it comes up to.
Shouldn't this be Robopedia?
Oh, Robopedia.
Sounds like Robopedia, really, because if you're going to do that and it's going to, have a window for it, I think it's just a greater wealth of knowledge.
Well, it's not going to include, whole subjects are going to be missing. It's all going to be mechanics, engineering, astronomy, history, metallurgy. All kinds of very highly specific topics.
Hold on. What doesn't it include then? You're being a little contradictory there.
Social sciences, psychology, law. There's a variety of subjects that fall outside of Rob AI's purview. Tim in the comments. Yeah, Tim's too afraid to come on and brush soldiers with a. Let's not get too deep into. I don't want to give away trade secrets here, Rob, and reveal too much about how I'm designing it.
I don't care. I'm the one who open sources everything. So
Oh, damn. Yeah, that's going to be super Robbie. All right. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Oh, the one.
But
the
yeah,
wonky
to finish what I was
since he brought it up, so can we seg into my current progress on the?
Oh, of course,
Majestic
Rob
Fantasy?
AI always segues.
Yeah. Okay, so I am pretty close to getting finished, but I'm gonna have to wait after the two big Kickstarters that are coming up. Apparently, in a couple weeks, Troll Lords is gonna have theirs, and then there's gonna be Shadow Dark big Shadow Dark setting Kickstarter. So I'm looking at late April. But as part of it is I'm gonna do a lot of the illustrations of it with my maps, and I've started that process here. So giving a little overview of the regions and I have these maps summarizing what's in the different regions, showing the Ruralson, the different city-states of the Ruralsons, and some of the cult stuff around there. Black Marsh, many of you are familiar with that already. Then Southland, that's been added in. Vasa, this is the conquered province of Vikings, a map showing where the Vikings came from. Northport, this is a brand new region. And finally for tonight, that's it. Guess I didn't dump in the Gray Sea one, which I'll take care of that right now. But
And Rob, I just want to say I just haven't gotten my Black Marsh book in yet. Just want to, if you know anybody.
Oh, if you haven't got it yet,
make a phone call.
How long ago did you order it?
Because that was the one that got you over the hump.
Oh,
I was thinking, okay, this will be expedited.
Yeah, that's not surprising as to be. I've ordered my restock for the upcoming Gary Con for the Black Blades guy, and yeah, mine hasn't shipped either. So I hope it gets there in time because Gary Con's what, the end of March?
That's probably if you're going to go to GaryCon this year, you can damn well be sure it's going to be an Ernie Requiem. It's going to be March 20th through the 23rd. Yep.
Yeah.
So, and Rory, it's not Bud Light. It's actually Rockstar. Theoretically, it's an energy drink. I don't know how much energy it gives me. I don't know. It tastes nice.
Well, it says recovery on it, doesn't it?
Hey, it says recovery. Yes, it does. Zinc, biotin, magnesium, but it has caffeine. It has contains a whole 3% juice.
Wow, 3%.
3%.
That's heady right there.
So how many ounces is it? 16 ounces? I believe this is 16 ounces. So it has approximately half an ounce of juice in it. Whoa, folks, that's going to get you going, man. I know it gets me going.
So, Greg, what do you have going on?
Oh,
I heard you released something new.
I did just release a book this week, and I have another one coming in like about 2 weeks that has been in editing for a while. The one I dropped this week is called the GM Companion, and like the Player Companion, it takes the base stuff that's in Shadow Dark and just builds it out to a larger size. 'Cause she had to cut a ton of stuff, I'm sure, to make it fit. Even as tight as Shadow Dark is, it's a big, heady tome when you see it printed out in A5. And so I take a lot of the charts and tables and stuff that she only maybe had a D6 table for, and I build it out to a D10, D12, D20 in some cases. build out tables to act as an alternative to her tables. So, like, we can pick a fun one here, just to show what it is. So these are. I'm gonna pull up the Shadow Dark one first so you can see what it looks like. Um,
Here's the product that Greg is talking about. I like the artwork. That's actually pretty damn cool. It's normally $10 in PDF, on sale for $8.
yeah, I mark everything down
Look
by
at
a little
that.
bit when I first launch it.
Yeah, the
Um,
GM sale, by the way, is going to be in the first week of March.
Yep. So if we look here, Eric, I've shared this. This is the Shadow Dark table for rival crawlers. She has a table in here that's a D20 table for the party name and what they're known for, and then she has a D4 with a lawful, neutral, and a chaotic column for the tactics of a party, right? And Eric, did it switch over right? I'm not looking.
What I am bigoted for you.
Yeah, we see your screen.
You get a full screen here.
Yeah. Okay. So this is my alternative for party names for a rival crawler party, and so all of these are different from everything that she has. So if you're getting to the point where you've made a bunch of parties using the old table, you can switch over to my table and replace it. And then I have a D6 table for signature tactics. It's larger. I have different party secrets, all that kind of stuff. So it's the same format of the tables and design that she's had, but built out with a lot more options, right?
Nice.
So go back to, this is a original Shadow Dark, and you go to, let's say, hazards, and she has a table of hazards for any place. You know, it could be anywhere. And so some of them, like, you might roll quicksand, and if you're in an environment where that doesn't make sense, might not be so great, right? So in mine, if we go back to, see, I have hazards by terrain, right? So
Okay.
you can have Arctic hazards, coastal hazards, desert hazards for every single terrain. So it's always going to fit whatever the flow is. The same for, I added more district stuff for building out cities. I added more shops. I added more tavern stuff. Is all new menu items for taverns, all new drinks for taverns. I added a new dice game to play. This is I didn't invent it. It's an old dice game, but it's popular in the Kingdom Come Deliverance role playing game, PC video game. That's on console too. But you play it in the game as like a mini game, and a lot of people really like it. So just added a whole bunch of stuff for you to do. This I also put 3 alternatives to carousing in here. People really love the carousing in Shadow Dark, so I made a religious form of carousing called Acts of Devotion, where you can maybe, if you put in enough money, end up with a temple plaza for your deity. And then combat training one where it's focused on like a fighter type class orientation, and you can end up building a keep if you're putting in enough money. And then magical study, where you could possibly be founding a university with all this money that you're pouring into these events. So it's a way to build out, like I said, it adds to the game that's already there, right? You can
Right.
you can use, adding new types of rooms to use in her random dungeon generation system. Changes, things that will make you get even more use out of the base Shadow Dark system.
And you are number 2 in the OSR hot list on DriveThruRPG.
Yeah,
Beating AKS2, Judges Journal, and World Without Number.
All right. Tim asks about the print version. I have them on order from drive-through. I ordered them separately and had them shipped separately so that I can get the soft cover first. I should get the soft cover in about maybe a week to 2 weeks. The hard covers take longer, and then assuming I didn't screw anything up, I will approve the the proof and then rock it forward. But hey, sometimes you never know. You find out that something wasn't done right. So, um,
Well, that's
and-
the whole reason why you do a proof copy.
yeah. So, yeah, I've had that. A lot of people who said that they will be picking it up in POD, but yeah, the initial sales have been very good. I've been very happy, and I will make announcements when the POD is ready.
Awesome.
Well, that's pretty darn good, man. That's
Not
and
shabby.
you're number 2.
Yeah.
On-
Well,
I got
I
my
always,
copy. I've
I always-
contributed.
all right. What do you think, Flint?
Well, anytime you can expand on, a game that doesn't, put out itself, Kelsey not putting out a ton of resources for it. I always appreciate, the extra material. So I enjoyed it. I thought it was, I think it's super tight, and I think it's everything you want right there.
Well,
Wow.
thank you.
Greg, you dressed to impress.
Well, the product I have coming out in a couple weeks is a lot more of a difficult thing to edit. People who don't put together these books, like making charts, is very easy to edit compared to narrative paragraphs where you're describing things. So I have a product that's with an editor. It's getting a lot of attention that it needs, but it is I think going to be, kind of sounds arrogant to say, but I think it's going to be innovative, groundbreaking design for running solo play with Shadow Dark. It has a icon system where when you go into a new hex,
I keep telling you,
a
Greg, you're
solo
never going to
player-
be Matt's best friend.
I don't want to be.
Well, you keep
He
trying
just
with
keeps
the solo
following
play
me,
stuff.
Rob. He keeps following me. So I have it so that like you can totally run this as a regular campaign setting. The icons are just helpful organizing the information if you do it that way. But if you run it as a solo play, the icons serve as a way for you to know when you need to make a check or not, right? So if there's an icon for discovery, you have to make an intelligence check to read what it says where that icon is. So as a way of I don't know if anybody's done solo play, but you're your biggest enemy in terms of you've read something and you're like, well, I know that this thing is there. So the icons serve as a way of holding you back from yourself. It'd be like, well, I don't know this piece of information until I make this check. You roll the check, I failed it, so I'm gonna have to just act like I don't know it, even if I read what it says. And that doesn't sound like that's a huge deal. Like, it's really hard to manage what you know in solo play. And so I have it set up so you can explore this really huge territory using the system. I'm really excited.
Greg,
to bring it
I've not
forward.
done solo play, but is it any different in the sense of when you're playing? I mean, you have meta knowledge, right? You're playing a character, and there's things you know versus what your character knows. Is it any difference in that?
Well, like here's the example. So this was I made a couple of videos. I have to put out the final video. I've been distracted for the past 2 weeks finishing up the GM's companion, but there's a demo of me playing it on my YouTube channel, and in the first video, I'm kind of leaving the safe town and headed along the coast, and there's a place where you see oyster divers out there in the water. Now, you could read and see that if you go into do the dive, as soon as you finish doing finding out whether or not you get any pearls, there's a possibility of a shark attacking you. Now, you could look at that and go, okay, well, I'm not going to dive in. But that's really not that different from in real life of you looking out there and going, yeah, I'm not going to dive in there. But if you dive in there knowing, that or not, you're still in order to see if a shark comes. And then once the shark comes, you're going to be in the same situation as if you knew beforehand. I mean, the shark's still attacking you. You're still in the water. So, I tried to make it so that it doesn't really matter if you read it. If you don't know, if you can't make the checks, it doesn't really help you. It doesn't help you to know that you're going to, if you fail the check, you fail the check. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I mean,
I'm dumb. I didn't even think I can pull it up right here. Duh. Just find that damn shark.
Find that shark. You're going to need a bigger boat.
That's right.
oops.
Well, he is
Classic
in the
line.
civilized portion of the book.
By the way, we have about 10 viewers on Twitter/X. If you want to join in the conversation, you're probably going to have to watch on YouTube or Rumble. I don't think Twitter allows you to chat and harass people. I mean, ask questions or comment. I don't really mean harass. I mean, we're not what? Flint, what? We're not looking for harassment.
No,
No.
not at all.
All right. So here's the oyster one, if you could share that, Eric. Okay. So if you walk into this hex 3131, right? You can read the weather for free. Obviously, you're going to know what the weather is. There's a first look icon that you could read this. This is kind of what you're seeing when you're walking in to the coast. So then you have this pearl dive. So you can make a dex check and try to gather some pearls. And it can be worth quite a bit of money. But this trap icon is sometimes it's for real traps. Sometimes it's for just things that are unavoidable that are going to hurt you. So as soon as you've resolved this top icon, the one underneath it, if it's a trap, automatically springs on you. So the trap icon kicks in and you have to make a random roll for a shark, right? Shark's already in the Shadowdark book. I used almost every single monster from the Shadowdark book, and I added, I think it's 39 to this one, something like that. And then there is a shark in the random encounter table, so you might see one before you even decide to go pearl diving, right? But everything on this icon system is kind of a vertical resolution. So in order for you to get to a lower icon, you have to resolve the higher icon, and there's a whole system of whether it involves an intelligence check or a dex check or whatever in order to keep going, right? And there's hundreds and hundreds of hexes that I've rocked out. Like here's one where there's Aarakocra, right? So you get it's hot, it's in the desert. There's red cliffs. Shadowdark has a terrain difficulty system, so this is difficult terrain for you to move through. It's slow hex crawl, and once you've kind of got into the hex, you can decide to interact with these Aarakocra peacefully. They won't fight you as long as you leave your weapons and armor outside of town, and you can bargain with them. You can even recruit Aarakocra to be your guides. But if you keep going down the stack, eventually you figure out that the Aarakocra hate a frost dragon that lives nearby. It's in the adjacent hex, and they'll tell you about it, and they want to help you kill it if you're going to try to kill it, right? So if you had approached from the other direction rather than this side, you wouldn't even know that you have allies when you run into that frost dragon, right? So the entire system makes extensive use of rumor tables. When we play tested this years ago, when it was for Ambition and Avarice, Eric, you guys got many rumors that you Joe was like, I don't know what to do. I've got so many things I want to go do, right? So you can roll off these big rumor tables constantly and find out all kinds of stuff. Like here's that frost dragon that the Aarakocra are right next to, right? So here the rumor is that there's multiple frost dragons. So as you investigate these things, you can move around this. My son play tested this with me, and he was staying up late at night, making me think he had gone to bed, playing this in his room by himself. It was incredible. 15-year-old kid just chipping away. He would just play for hours and hours on his own. He was so fascinated that he could just run it without me because he's so used to having to have me to run a role playing game for him.
Oh wow! Well, that's a success right there.
And he's found some issues. He found some things where he's like, I think this is too strong. It killed me. It's like, maybe that's a good thing sometimes, maybe not. I figured out, oh, that should be 2d6 kobolds, not 5d6 kobolds. So, stuff like, things like that. That's part of the writing process. But yeah, I'm really excited to roll this thing out. It's going to be really good.
I think Roy's question is for you. No, Roy, I don't think these are Greg's own setting. We're doing parallel work, not.
Oh yeah. This is not related to. Is Majestic Wilderlands related to the Judges Guild stuff that you did? I can't remember the genealogy.
Majestic Wilderland with Judges Guild, based off the Judges Guild.
Okay. Yeah, I've adventured in that world.
Yes, you did, and did quite well. Everybody did quite well.
Yeah.
I won a battle in the Grand Arena in the city of the Invincible Overlord.
And I'm glad you like the combat system.
Well, Mr. Gunn, you don't have to share everything in the comments there.
Yeah. You're cross-eyed now, going blind.
It's bad enough we got Joe, buddy, and then you jumping in here.
Well, yeah, if Greg goes in and comes in his son's room and goes, Dad, I'm playing. Don't come in here when I'm playing Shadow Dark. Gosh, privacy.
Could you show my screen briefly? So, Roy, this is what my stuff is going to look like here. It's going to be just like Black Marsh. It's going to be, a bunch of description of terrain, and then a big long list of locales for the map. And it's going to, unlike Black Marsh, which is just one letter size map, it's going to be 4 12-inch by 18 maps, poster maps, that you'll be able to also get off of Drive-Thru RPG. So what I focus on is describing the world, and that's why I was showing those maps earlier, because a lot of these locations were interconnected with each other or have an impact on each other, and it helps to have a map that summarizes it. When I did the Wilderland stuff, 20 years ago now, people were saying, how can we figure out what these maps are about? And I made up these summary maps of the maps I did, and people really appreciated those. So I'm doing a similar thing.
I mean, if you want to look at it, Greg does things more on a tactical scale often, and Rob is more strategic. So Rob is world building. Greg is usually location building. He drills down more. Both is great stuff. Both serves similar purposes, but it's the zoom in level, and I think that's the best way to compare it. Mike, your No Super Friends team up. I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. Speak English, motherfucker. Speak English.
Also, Roy, it's based. So the original Judges Guild Wilderland is very bare bones. I mean, they didn't even have a paragraph, a description of most of their stuff. It was just a single stat line, much like a Traveler World. And it will give you like population, the ruler name, what kind of the race of the people that lived there, and what kind of resources. And it was up to you to flesh it out. So all of us who used it back in the day, we all came out with our own different world. And some of it who are into world building like me, well, we got really into it, and I created a lot of original material for it. And before I got the Judges Guild license, I worked on, okay, how can I write about this for the then young OCR? So I came up with the world that Black Marsh is set in. And then I was lucky and I got the license. So that I got sidetracked from that project to actually work with Waterland stuff, came out with my Majestic Waterland. But now that the license is over, I'm back to working with my stuff. So that's my next project, going to be my next Kickstarter, is an expanded version of Black Marsh plus a little description of the world. So it's kind of related to my Waterland stuff, but it doesn't use any of the Judges Guild IP. It just uses the stuff I created, that Tim, that even recent games like Greg were participated in. Those are the stuff that feeds into the material that I'm currently writing.
Mike, I don't know if they would really be the Wonder Twins. Well, I mean, the Super Friends. They'd be more like the Wonder Twins.
Yeah. Shape of
a water buffalo, form of a bucket of ice. I mean, it was always some stupid.
It would be in the shape of a Ford. You see 3D6 water buffaloes stampeding through. Around it are a bunch of herders, and then we would seg into Greg's Ramden herder table.
Yes, 48 types of herders.
Yep.
Oh Jesus! No, the two of them and Ginny is that I don't want to picture that.
I have an allergy to blue hair dye and green also.
I had to be honest. I know who she is, but I don't know her creative work in detail, so I can't. Not sure where she would complement what me and Greg would do.
Yeah, that's the only reason why is I just think video. And then I go into Two Girls, One Cup, and it just goes south from there. So, I mean, that's just no.
I went dark really quick, guys.
I mean,
Two Girls, One Cup.
I'm showing my age, man. That's the early internet. What can I tell you?
You just ruined this.
I remember that was like that was the early Rickroll. Hey, man, I sent you a link. You're at work. You're like, oh, jeez. All right, hold on. Let me log into my email on my desk computer. We're trying to get me fired. Why didn't you log in from work? I don't know.
What time of day is it? Right? I know where I'm at.
Yeah, dude. Come on, man.
Oh, there's Joe.
One thing,
eventually
before we
summoned
start
him with
bragging
my
on
arrogant
Joe.
comments.
So, John Miller, it was because of you I avoided a mistake in my latest draft for my Majestic Fantasy Realms. I was going to go to route of the stuff I laid out for the Waterland and have a chart for islands, ruins, and settlements. And then I read your reviews, and you were I forgot which one you criticized, where everything was divided up. And I thought, he has a point. I should do it like Black Marsh, where all the numbered hex locales are in a single list. And because that way you can see what's next to each hex. And then the only thing that's in a separate list, because it's alphabetical order, not numbered hex, are the terrain, like the mountains, the swamps, and the rivers. Those are in alphabetical order. But so I appreciate you pointing that out in your review. And
crisis averted.
Yeah,
crisis averted. Although it did take me 3 days of resorting the whole thing.
It's not Joe's private Substack that concerns me. It's a subscription channel that would not be written. It would be more of a video channel. We're not even going to mention what kind of fans that might need to have part of it.
It would be artsy, at least. Like I said,
It would be artsy. It would be artsy.
He's
That is
entering
for
his
sure.
artsy phase. He's becoming a creator. And he's going to enchant everyone with his beautiful creations.
No. You can enchant everybody with his flowing prose,
And
his evocative descriptions.
Or his flowing hair. I
well,
mean,
he can't use Blood Island because somebody else beat him to that name. It only took them 25 years to finally use the name he had picked out, but
Bloody
it's over.
Island. Bloody Island.
Bloody Island would work. Yeah, that could work.
Blood-stained island.
There you go.
Crimson Island. Yeah, something else.
Yeah.
So last week, I was at TotalCon, and I'm not expecting this, but Friday night, I'm walking through the main floor, and I hear, and leaping over a dividing wall between the bar and the atrium is Joe. I mean, the guy's like an athlete now, like vaulting shit. I'm like, what the fuck? And I was like, oh yeah, I figured I'd come up here and just hang it. Total surprise. Didn't call me, didn't text me, didn't PM me. He's like, oh yeah, I'm just hanging out at the bar. So he just came up for the evening. Wasn't gaming, just socializing. And we're talking at the bar. Shortly thereafter, and Alan Hammock comes up. And Alan is old school TSR. Tower of Inverness, I believe, was one of his creations. And we're talking, and Joe's got his back. He's behind Joe and I. And Joe goes, I recognize his voice. I go, yeah, that's Joe the lawyer. Because I've never seen his face before. But he recognized Joe's voice. So that was part of the impetus to getting to Joe to pull back the curtain on Tim's channel and start revealing himself. But I've noticed a lot of YouTube channels that you never saw the voice is now showing you for oh, there's the guy who normally does the voiceover sitting in a chair at his computer for 10 seconds showing his face. So there must be something with the YouTube algorithm that doesn't want these just background voices talking.
Yeah, faceless channels are still big. I
Right.
don't know what they're in comparison to people that show their face, how the algorithm favors or doesn't favor it. So,
Well, there's
I
something.
mean, Critical Drinker, when he does his review videos, they're still faceless. He just had videos now where he's there.
Right, but I've noticed other channels which forever. There's one channel that always does reviews of the Marvel movies and the trailers and all that stuff, and it was his face does not match the voice that I've been hearing for the last couple of years, which is fine. But I'm like, dude, he's the third or fourth channel that has done that in 2025 that wasn't doing that before. And these are the bigger channels that are on top of what the algorithm wants. Because if you're not playing with the algorithm at my level, it doesn't matter. I'm not catching much of a wave. Maybe one of my shorts catches a wave for a few hours, but I am the tortoise. All right. But if you've already caught that wave and you've got hundreds of thousands of subscribers, if you're not keeping up with the algorithm, your subscriber numbers start becoming pointless because you're not getting the traffic that goes along with it. You're like a zombie channel. So it's interesting to observe. I'm too small to be a zombie channel. So as long as I produce, I'll get views. But
yeah, the only video.
Yeah, but you're gaming. Oh, sorry. Go on.
I was going to say, just the only video that matters is your next one.
That's
all that really matters is, okay, so you made 100 crappy videos. It's not going to matter. YouTube doesn't judge you on your catalog. It only judges you based on the next video you produce.
Right.
So whatever that is. Now, I'll say this: I started my D&D channel faceless to begin with because I didn't want to know. Really, what I was wondering whether or not I wanted to do all the work, whether I wanted to still edit and do a lot of other things that were involved with that. So I started that way, and I was like, well, if I'm going to put the work in, I might as well put the work in. So,
yeah, no. All right, there's still one session, at least one session left in Joe's 2E campaign.
It went downhill after I quit. Let's let the truth be known.
No, listen. I have now become the one-man army. Okay?
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
And without charm spells. Okay, without charm spells.
Hold on. I distinctly recall a couple buff going your way, making a
Oh,
hell of a fucking difference.
Dude, no, I'm just saying, like, how Greg used to always, like, have all the fucking, like, creatures fighting for him. Now I am the one that has the summoning. I got my staff, I got my sticks to snakes spell, and I'm high enough to half my snakes are poisonous, and then I have my summon backs or something like that. It's like this I don't know, weasel creature with 12 hit dice. And if it hits, it locks on, and the next round it gets another 2 to 8 attacks. So it is. We are death to any encounter which has 1, 2, or maybe 3 creatures in it. We are walking death. If you give us a dozen, we can't crowd control like we used to because we're kind of all over the place. So that becomes real dangerous.
Well, if Josh shows us up and has his, wizard there, then we have fireball and all that happy stuff. Combination what Tim can do now. But we're just Tim. We're right. We don't have crowd control or shit.
No, and especially if I'm taking 2 rounds, but like a lot of times we don't know what we're walking into until we walk into it. So it's like, oh shit, I got to summon something quickly. If we have a little prep time, which we did last time, I can throw in my color spray or my hypnotic pattern.
It would be useful if you had, say somebody who could cast continual darkness, fog, charm multiple creatures that could mob your enemies. That would have been useful.
Well,
I have it's experiment, and it helped.
Yeah,
I know, but I can cast it 5 times and no problem.
Yeah, well, listen, the extra caster helps.
Yeah,
that's certain. But somebody had to bring. So, look, here's the difference. Greg had an army of numbers. He would come in and it'd be like, you're at the party, and then you've got, I don't know, what should we call it? The chum, ready to throw out and sacrifice.
Hyenas, gnolls, dogs, goblins.
My army is. Remember the old army commercials? An army of one. All right, summon the weasel. All right, I mean, the weasel killed like a 20 hit die giant that was trying to flee the scene. Just I killed it in the background. It's like, yeah, it's dead. It might have fled the area, but the weasel will just kill it. So,
Pop goes the weasel.
Pop goes the
weasel, or what?
No, it's an Auravax. It's a 12 hit die, AC 0, gold eating weasel. It's a 5th level spell, and I get it. And I was like, and apparently my priest is the only priest class, because of my god, that gets this spell. So it's like, well, I can tell you this much. It probably wasn't play tested very much during the 2E days.
Yeah, my spells that I got from that 2E book with all the specialized priest classes that we had, man, the spells were just totally overpowered for my level. It was not balanced at all. I was able to cast invisibility like 3 times.
Yeah. They must have nerfed Entangle compared to 1E, because I haven't got shit out of Entangle.
All right. Listen, folks. This took a very special arrangement, but we have a very special guest. All right.
Oh no.
All right. For the first time, intentionally, I think it's happened once or twice unintentionally, where we got peeks behind the screen. We have
Oh
the
gosh,
one-
I knew if I poked him enough, he'd come on here. I did.
Yeah, I just had to say, your fucking weasel is bullshit, Eric. And it came from a book that I didn't think you'd live this long to get to that high level. If I had read far enough ahead to see that you get this ridiculous goddamn thing that gets, once he latches on for his 1d2 hit points, he can do 78 attacks around for 3,000 fucking hit points.
8. You know,
No
but
way
yeah,
it must be allowed.
yeah. It's like the weasel
You know
is
what
dead.
would have solved this? A house rule.
Oh, it would have been house. If we didn't come to the end of the campaign, but I'm letting Eric go out with big balls. Not to quote Elon's guy, but you know he's going out with some big balls here. You know what I mean? He's got a
I
fucking
got the big my balls are so big.
so big. So
Well, what are we talking
huge.
about specifically here?
a goddamn monster with 78 attacks that he latches on, and next thing you know, the next round he's
78,
just
2 to 8. But it is the weasel
Are you
of death.
talking about your alligator or weasel?
no, the other
The
thing.
weasel. The
The
weasel.
other thing.
Not the alligator. The alligator is just a stick.
Yeah, I never
The
heard of that.
weasel is a 5th level spell, and it's an Orovex. Jeez, hold on.
Yeah, it's a nonsense.
It's
But
not
I
you
figured I'd
summon a
jump in
weasel?
because I have an update from the front lines, everybody. Because Tim taunted me for weeks about his acrylic or whatever the fuck dice. So I failed my save and I had to go out and get them. And they're cool because they bounce and they're like quiet. And they're not rubber, they're like acrylic. So I had to like
Right again.
These were the
look
ones
at
that
this.
were made to punish colorblind people.
I don't know. Well, yeah, they are kind of hard to read. You could have got the black and the red or the red and the black, and I got the black
That's
and the
nothing to
red.
do with color blindness. I know. I just had to change my software at work because I screwed up the color blindness thing. But no, that's just hard to read. Period.
It is. But I like the black with the red lettering better. But I figured I'd report back because I went to a that's the bullshit spell. I went out to
Under armor of Barat? What the heck?
Oh,
a
I know what
nonsense.
an Vorax is. Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Yeah, it's like a multi-legged weasel.
Oh yeah,
Uh-huh.
it's evil. It would inflict terror into the honey badger himself. That's how badass this goddamn thing is. You know,
Is this like
Yeah.
the Tasmanian devil? Is it
It's
like
on-
something?
on
Oh
steroids.
my God! It's an 8-legged weasel.
It's on steroids. That's what it is.
Yeah,
It's on
8 points
steroids.
of damage per turn until the target's dead.
Well,
That-
no. It's actually, if you look at the Munster manual entry, it actually is 2 to 8 attacks per round.
Mhm. Yeah, it's insane. Fucking insane.
I'm going to share it, Eric. I got
Yeah,
it
yeah.
right.
What do you
here,
got?
Right here.
Yeah,
There you go.
yeah.
Oh, there we go.
yeah. It's a honey badger on steroids with a few extra limbs. That's what it is.
It bites at its prey until it hits, clamping its active target victim, doing 2d8 points of damage, or 2d4 points of damage after it's hit, and it locks its jaws and hangout, doing an additional 8 points of damage per round until the Arm Borax or its enemy is dead.
Right,
Yeah.
but that's not the killing part. The 2 to 8 attacks per round once it's locked on.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's how it fucks you. Yeah. Yeah. That's why I'm like, if this campaign was going another year or so, it'd be house rule the hell away. I'd house rule like 6 legs away.
Yeah,
That's what I would do.
your God says no.
Yeah. It was an aberration.
You got to sacrifice a
Well,
pig.
hit dice.
Yes, I told you that, Rob.
know.
AC 0.
That's what I mean. It's a nonsense thing. It's somebody just said, I'm gonna fuck everybody, and I'm gonna put this in the book because in the 2E days nobody was reading it or play testing it or anything like that. They were just like, throw this in there just to fuck with everyone. That's what it was, But I got reports on the front lines, guys, because I figured I stopped at the store near where I work to pick these dice up, right? And then I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna stop at another store kind of near my house, and then a third one. All 3 of them gaming stores. I kind of wanted to see the lay of the land. So
Right.
the first one I stopped at, I asked the guy who owns it. He was there. I knew him because I used to run games there. I said, how's it going? Blah, blah, blah. First, he told me good news that the game campaign I started 8 years ago is still going strong with one of my former players, which is kind of cool, little legacy.
Oh,
and
man.
I asked him how 5.5 is going, and he says it's selling. And he says, it seems like some people have converted their campaigns in the game store over to it, but he pretty much said it's selling. All right, so that's cool. I stopped into the second game store, and this was closer to my house, about 20 minutes away. And I'm looking around, and there's no goddamn D&D books anywhere to be found. Right now, 3 years ago, this guy had a lot of fucking D&D books, right? Nothing, no miniatures, not a single miniature in the store for D&D. Shit tons of Warhammer. He even has some comic books in the corner. No D&D books at all, not even the old ones. And I said, what's going on? He says, they just don't sell. Everybody plays online now. Nobody's buying them. They might buy the books, but they'll buy them online too. And so it wasn't worth keeping the miniatures nor any of the books in stock. He goes, and he pointed out to like the bottom of a shelf in the far corner, there's a couple books laying around. So I go to the third store. And this is the store I took you and Tim to, right?
Okay.
In Kellyanne, all right? That big-ass store way up in Newington there.
Yeah.
I stopped in there. They had a lot of D&D books, but what they didn't have, though, was a shit ton of miniatures. Because apparently WizKids, what they're doing, they'll put out a line of miniatures, a wave, right? A wave of minis. And then they only reprint some of the most popular ones in each wave. And so the game stores can't get them back in stock again. Shit tons of just, we are out of stock signs after the minis are sold and low on everything. And not only that, what they're doing is they I don't know, there's some kind of controversy going on with WizKids and D&D where they can't put out like D&D labels on their fucking minis anymore. I don't know what the deal is, but there's some kind of drama or controversy, and they're putting out some of the minis that are obviously D&D monsters with a faux D&D monster name. It's the same mini, but it's a different name, it looks like. So it's just it's like a lot going on there. But the kid at the game store we went to, Rob, he says, and he's just a kid who works there, and I asked him how it's selling, and he says, oh, it's good, but with that high pitched, I'm kind of lying through my ass kind of voice, So I'm kind of wondering if it's really making a splash here, based on the third quarter, that last quarter reports that everybody was talking about recently, where their sales are down in the RPG and the tabletop sales and. And I saw Pundit did a video today about that sales being down as well. So I don't know. I don't think it's going to turn out too well for him. If everybody's either playing at home or online, so much so that one store canceled their entire D&D everything, right? They used to have half their store was dedicated to D&D. They canceled all of it. Now it's all Warhammer and this and that, right? And even the one where I used to run the games has a shit ton more Warhammer than they ever used to. They only have one section in D&D and far, far less minis than they ever used to have, right? And it's just I see a trend, This is just one state, 3 game stores in one night, but I'm definitely seeing a trend. There's something. It's just.
But here's the thing, Joe. Did they only ever sell D&D?
They sold a lot more, Rob. They never only sold D&D.
No, what I meant when. In terms of their RPG section, was it just dominated by D&D?
It was, which one? The first store used to have a shit ton of D&D and some Pathfinder, the one I used to run games at. Now they got far less D&D, more Warhammer. Warhammer seems to be making a resurgence based on what I've seen. The second store, the smaller one closer to me, shit tons of Warhammer. It was like entirely Warhammer based. While everybody at the table was playing Magic.
They only had D&D books there?
They didn't have nobody had only D&D, Rob. Nobody ever has only D&D, but they had a shit ton more. Now they got none, right?
What I meant was when it comes to, I'm sorry, I wasn't specific. When they sold RPGs, was it all D&D? In other words, did they have Pathfinder?
Yeah, they had Pathfinder.
Did they have?
Not Chaosium. They had D&D and Pathfinder. That's all they ever had. And now they have no RPGs at all in the second store. And the third store, the big one that you went to, they still got a little bit of everything. They got D&D, they got Pathfinder, but the minis are crippled. Their whole mini section is crippled. You can't find what the minis you want. You didn't even know what the hell they were. Half of them are out of stock. The other half are like, got one left. It was pathetic. So I don't know. I mean, this is just something I saw tonight from like the front lines. I figure I'll let you guys know what's going on. It was interesting.
I think it's not indicative of RPGs because if you're not big enough to get into the retail channels, in other words, you can afford print runs to hand off to distributors and take the hit, of returns and stuff, then you're not. Very few game stores are going to have your stuff, but so most of those stores, in my experience, they have a column of D&D and Pathio stuff, and then if D&D tanks for whatever reason, like in D&D 4E, then you see what you see. They're going to disappear. So it's more of a sign of I would say it's more of a sign of Wizards weakness than a sign that role playing is.
I never said it was role playing. I'm just saying it was Wizards of the Coast is getting killed. I mean, if these shelves in the store was some indication, and the first store I went to, the one I used to run games at, I said, this VTT coming out, that ain't gonna be good for you, man. He goes, I know. So they're worried.
No, speaking of the VTT,
Oh, here we go. Changing the topic.
Oh no,
I got some
I
news
couldn't-
with that.
Well, the open beta, right? It's like if you are signed up for D&D Beyond, you're part of the open
But
beta.
before we
now.
get
It's
before
like,
we get onto that, what do you guys think of that? Before Rob completely shifts the subject.
No, I didn't.
Well,
Mean,
I
I want to
think you
skip it
can-
later, but I do want to talk about what you encountered.
Yeah, because
You
I
can
have
only-
to dip out soon. Me and my brother are going to go for a beer in a minute, so I figured I'd jump in and drop this on you and then leave. What do you
Yeah.
think of that, though?
You can only serve the customer a shit sandwich once. After that, they stop buying your shit sandwich.
Yeah, it doesn't
And
really
that's
taste
the,
good. Even with
that's the
ketchup.
situation. Yeah. Like I'm not. In the words of the great statesman George W. Bush, "Fool me once, can't get fooled again."
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, that's just the way it is. Like I mean, if I go in and you give me a giant turd sandwich, I'm not going to be coming back to drop more cash on your product. That's just It's just the way it is.
Yep.
You can fool people one time. You can come out with a shit movie one time, and then people aren't going to come to see the shit sequel. It's just not what's going to happen.
Agreed. I think they burnt a lot of people with the OGL. I think the releasing of 3 books over fucking 12 months was retarded as hell.
That was the stupidest decision
Yep.
they could have made.
I not even at Christmas.
that's-
You can't get the 3 books from a box set at
that's-
Christmas. What the fuck?
And
But it's all about
when I looked at, I went to
Better.
Barnes and Noble yesterday,
Yeah.
and when I looked at their D&D stock, it was they were. I didn't see any player's handbook. They were out of player's handbook. But they had the monster manual, the 2024 monster manual, and the DMG, but the rest of it was obviously the aging stock
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
It's the thing that you keep seeing there over and over again.
Exactly.
And you're right, Greg, about serving shit sandwich. You're not going to get repeat customers or anything,
Mhm.
but it's worse than that. They're not, because they're not having regular releases. Their stock is aging in these big box stores, and that's gonna hurt them.
well. It's not only their stock is aging; their earnings are dipping. So the reason why they spread out the release was to get it over 3
Yeah,
quarters. They were hoping that it would show a nice little bump, and it hasn't. It hasn't done it, and that is kind of defeating the purpose for the whole thing.
They had the golden opportunity with the 50th anniversary, and they
fucked it up.
They just let the ball bounce on the court and roll off into the corner. Like ridiculous. They were just such a great opportunity, and they could have just grand slammed that shit out of the park. And
know who did? You know who did it well? Compare it to Saturday Night Live, who did their 50th anniversary.
Yeah,
and look what all they did.
They got Jack Nicholson off his deathbed to go to that fucking 50th anniversary, for God's sakes.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah, they could have done so much, but if you think that the people who you took over for are asshole racists,
exactly,
you're not going to have a great celebration of how they founded they Blood Islanded it off. Yes, exactly, Tim. They Blood Islanded the shit out of it. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Tim wins the match. That's it. We can all go home now.
Yeah, they have such disdain for the older editions of D&D. We're going to put out a book that's going to celebrate the 50th anniversary, and by the way, we're going to throw it under the bus in the preface and tell you why you should not be buying this. But if we would have removed all of this stuff that we don't like right now. It makes us feel uncomfortable because times when you have that in the preface of your anniversary book, that's then you don't understand the market.
They are the shittiest caretakers of the hobby ever, because they don't know or think or care about the hobby. They care about the IP. and making money and monetizing IP. They have no concept of the hobby.
Yep.
You know, I was listening to the Mike Merles. Actually, I hate the douche who interviewed him. What's his face with the tiny fucking hands, which we all know what that means. He had like an hour-long interview with Mike Merles this week.
Was it Ghosting Beast?
Yeah, that douche. Yeah. So it was a good interview though. It was a good fucking interview because Merles, he just, to his credit, he just let Merles talk, which was good because every time the other guy talks, he's an asshole. But he let Merles talk, and he got a lot of information. And Merles is pretty much saying, I think, that essentially that there's nobody in charge anymore like there used to be. Like the marketing department is also doing double duty for the marketing for some other bullshit. You know, everybody is doing double or triple duty. So there's nobody focused on D&D per se. All the duties around it are just spread all out around the place, you know? And so essentially there's nobody exercising any vision, none whatsoever. So nobody has any idea what the hell to do.
Well, it's like a prison cook that doesn't have to eat the food that they make. they don't care what's in it, doesn't care what it tastes
They packed
like.
a lunch.
Well, I've been
They're
saying
not
for a
eating
while
it.
when the wizard bitching got too much for me, I said, look, dude, we got to stop focusing on what they don't do, focusing on what we can do. And because we have all the IP that we need to make the D&D we want. And not only that, we have the benefit of being able to make multiple D&Ds out there. All you just need to put the time and effort.
Yeah.
And hopefully you're listening to your audience when you make your D&D, because that's how you're going to make your best D&D.
They don't know how.
There's also some bold strategies that you can use in order to undermine and steal IP from other miscreants like Wizards of the Coast. So what you do is you release a book like, say, Shadowdark, and you put monsters in the book and call them drow or dro, as wrong people say it. And
I'm a drow guy.
You put it in. Yeah, I know. That's why I said that. So you put that in the book, and then you wait. And when they don't comment on it, as our resident lawyer can tell us, that means they've failed to effectively defend that as a intellectual property. So the more we use the word drow and they don't say anything about it, then it slides towards to where they have no control of it. So just keep using the words, keep publishing the words, and putting them in, products until eventually, if you can say, hey, here's a product that sold 5,000 copies and it has this monster in it,
but
and you
Greg,
didn't do anything about it.
They will sue you into oblivion, even if they are completely in the wrong and you're completely in the right. It will cost you. It will cost you your house.
I'm preparing for a day where they have no
money. You're
money.
talking trademark or copyright, two different things. Now, all that not defending your copyright will get you, Greg, is the ability to escape damage. You'll still get the lawsuit. You'll still get the negative verdict. It just means they can't collect damage, but you're still shelling out for a lawyer, and you still get a cease and desist at the end of it all.
And lawyers cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars to defend that.
And as far as trademark goes, yes.
Only if they have money to keep doing that, Joe. And pretty soon,
Watsy has the money.
Doing that.
They got the money,
Yeah,
Greg. They had infinite money. They will defend it till they have to, because to not defend it once means they just it's instant death for them. And besides, it's out of a different budget. That's the thing.
What using drow or illicit or any of the term? What are we really getting by trying to steal it away from Wizard? I mean, we know what mind flayers are. We know what dark elves are. Just make up. You want to have an in-game.
Just that they're not.
Yeah, just change it from dark elves to black elves and see how that works for you.
Oh yeah, that'll work out real well, Joe. Thanks for that pro tip there, buddy.
Yeah, that'll go real well.
Is that going to be in Bloody Island?
None whatsoever. Yeah. No, it's gonna be a shit show. I think that the VTT is gonna crash and burn. I mean, and Rob, you said you had something on that, right?
Yeah.
I defeated your.
Okay. If you show my screen, so everybody, what is their project sigil going to look like?
Is this it?
Okay.
Can't you not show it?
hold on.
All right.
Okay, so we didn't know what Project Sigil. We heard about it. We knew it was going to be something D&D or 3D related, but exactly what kind of VTT is it going to be? So I got my invite, and in process of setting up, I had to say I can't show you any images from Project Sigil.
Correct.
Sigil. Fair enough. I can't show you any images. However, it turns out I played with it. I built a dungeon with it. It is not a Roll20 competitor. It is not a Foundry competitor. It is not a Fantasy Grounds competitor. It is a game called Tailspire competitor. Because in terms of what it's trying to shoot for in terms of functionality, it's this. This is Tailspire. This is what it's trying to emulate. It has little miniatures, just like this, that you throw around, and it has you build a dungeon, and you move the tiles around and set up your stuff. It uses the arrow keys like I'm using it here, and that's basically what it is.
So, Rob, if this Tailspire is a 10 on a 1 to 10, how would you rate in the current state of Wizards VTT on a 1 to 10?
If this is so, Tailspire is
Tailspire is a 10. Yeah.
If this is a 10,
I would rate it as a 4 right now. It has the barest of functionality.
Okay.
Right.
Tailspire, the only thing that's a 6 in it is their ability to build these miniatures. Okay, right now with Tailspire, you can import miniatures from Hero Forge, which Hero Forge is a 10 on that scale. Okay, but you have to pay for the export. So in order to get that miniature from Herospire, you're going to have to buy a miniature from Herospire, and then at which point you can drop it in here. With Wizards,
how much money are we talking about, Rob? How much money
$4.
How
$4.
much money does it cost to set up Tailspire?
It's a $40 program, $30. It's on Steam. You can go look at it.
Okay, all right.
So,
But is it a single cost, or is it a subscription cost?
it's a single cost, but
Interesting.
everybody has to have a client.
Well, I can't remember. This is I'm starting to get old like you guys. I'm in my 40s now. It's scary, but I can't remember if it was in the chat or if I saw it on Twitter. But somebody was talking about how basically the secret behind this thing is they're designing this to make the strongholds thing that they added to 2024 D&D, whatever it's
The bastions.
So what they want is to sell this. They think they're going to sell people this program so that they'll spend all their time building their little bastion and share it with other people. Look at my pretty bastion I made.
So
And
that's like
Minecraft. And that's what they think.
Minecraft. Yeah, basically, it's Minecraft, right? Sounds like.
Yeah. I would say it's like Minecraft. Now, the only thing that Project Sigil has right now is they have a really good good start on a miniature builder, and it's built in right into the program. But other than that, it's a 4 to Tailspire. They have a lot of work before they're competing with these guys right here.
And they lost all momentum from the book sales to merge right into the VTT, right? So that's dead, And speaking of books, I looked in at the books in the first books, the first RPG store, the money store and games at, and like Greg was saying, I think, or Rob was saying, most of those books they had on the shelves were like they've been there for a long time. Like they still had the Minds of Phandelver box set for that's original sticker on it from X years ago. You know what I mean? They had one of those. They did. You could tell that this shit's been sitting there for a while. It moved when they moved stores a few years ago, and it's been sitting on the shelves ever since, not really touched. So yeah, it's a disaster. I think they lost all momentum. They lost all the goodwill with the OGL. And by the way, somebody mentioned Kyle, that asshole Kyle's name. He's also the one who he's no longer there. He's the one who promised us we're going to get the 3.5 OGL or 3.0 OGL, right?
Yep.
And released in a Creative Commons, just like the 5e one. That didn't happen. And whoever was there to remember that is gone as well, right? So everybody's like rats jumping this sinking shit before it goes down. They're levered.
Let me interrupt you. So this is a miniature right here. I paid for an export.
I know that guy.
Yeah, you do.
I know that guy. Yeah.
So
didn't he die? He kissed a naiad.
Yeah, he did. You can laugh it up, Fuzzball. Laugh it up. Anyway, this is what. So you can make a pretty nice miniature in Hero Forge and import it in. But other than that, what you're seeing here is who Withered is competing against, whether they want to or not. The only thing that Withered's going to have as an advantage is the ability to import directly from D&D Beyond, and even that is in a rudimentary form right now.
Wow, look at what Lord Mateus said. Last year at my local game store's free RPG, they were giving away Radiant Citadel. We spent money on something else. Jesus Christ,
well,
it
Radiant
sucks so bad they were giving it away.
Special. It's special. See,
which one was that one?
That's the one where they imagined how you could create an authoritarian, totalitarian, communist state using mind detection magic. So they created this place where all of the guards walk around and do like thought detection constantly and catch everyone for wrongthink.
Are you serious?
They were like, yes, and they were like, this is what people want in their D&D module. And they released this shit. I'm serious. There's the guy Diversity and Dragons did a thing where he did like a flip through of it and talked about all this shit like that's in there. It's basically like the Stasi's wet dream of how you can run.
Jesus Christ.
Stalin was an NPC.
It's like the KGB is like, we have learned a lot reading this book.
But one that link that is the link to the digital version of the Greyhawk map I created. It's based off the Darlene map, so that's to answer. His comment scrolled away. Somebody asked about whether they're printable. Oh, not T. Yeah, not T is. Zach. I work with Zach Henderson. He created a bitmap version of the Greyhawk map, and I focused on the digital version. Mine, and I have known two people who have done this so far. You could literally expand it to encompass a banner, a tablecloth version of Greyhawk. So mine has infinite zoom in and out if you want to print it really big. Also, mine has layers. You can turn off layers, get a black and white version of Greyhawk map if you want.
Yep, and if you're looking at Rob's map, in your mind, the Radiant Citadel police are there as well with you the whole time.
Greg, that is. I haven't read Radiant Citadel, and I can only imagine that how they implemented it is pretty poorly done. But I got to say, that is kind of a thing I've used in one of my adventures where, the players go up against, find out this. You went on this adventure. They did soul jar. They were soul jarring their spirits.
I think you can do great things with reading minds. I mean, I think it's a value. I played in a Traveler game where there was this little kid who was reading minds, and I didn't know it, and I turned to the party and I was like, I think we're gonna have to kill this kid, and the GM was like, he realized, the kid realizes that that's what you're thinking about, and I was like, well, it's too late for caution now. I just blew that kid away, man. I was like, I can't let this kid. This kid is big problem for Greg. So I just wiped him off.
I got something to show you guys. Eric, if you could zoom me in for a second.
Yeah.
I think I showed you the other day.
Wait for him to sit back
this
down.
Is
zoom in when he's.
This is, remember the other, I don't know, about a month ago or so, people do super chats in, channels and this and that. Mm-hmm. And one of Paul's fans accidentally fucked up and super chatted some money to him. And so taking Tim's advice, I have framed that $5 bill. I spent $8 on the frame and $5 on the bill. I can't ever spend now because I've defaced, U.S. currency. So I'm probably a federal criminal now. But yes, I now have Paul's money, which will always be prominently displayed right back here behind me for every show that I do with Paul.
There you go.
So yes,
There you go.
$5.
Okay.
There it is. Not a bad frame either. $8, but it's not bad. A little magnetic and this and that, but it comes out. You can hang it on the wall. So there it is, Paul. There's your $5. So if you ever come up and visit us for ShireCon, I'll give it to you.
Will you give it to me? Okay.
I will give you the $5. Yeah.
No, I want to live in infamy on your channel. I think I'm just going to leave it there.
My shelf of shit.
That's right.
Joe, I'm not a rocket scientist, but wouldn't it have been possible to put the dollar bill in the frame and then write on the frame?
No, I was thinking that too, man.
Yeah, but it would smear off.
I mean,
it's plastic.
Okay. I'm just saying you could have avoided federal charges.
Yeah, that's
just
true.
Written
That's true.
on the glass.
Perhaps.
Joe was just testing it for making sure it was an authentic bill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just happened to write his name while testing. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm quietly building my kingdom through my zines, and I shall make my $5 another way.
You'll always be $5 behind where you could have been, though, man.
That kid hadn't taken those $5 out of my hand.
I could have sent my kid to college.
Damn it! Now I can't get myself the smallest Starbucks on the shelf.
Yeah, maybe.
Well,
maybe
I do. To tie this back into your question earlier, Joe, I do think the reason why they're having these production distribution failures for Wizards of the Coast, for Pathfinder, for everybody, is because we're moving from a day when there was a recording label to a day where anybody can put out their music on YouTube for free, right?
Yeah.
And so the production, you don't need these people to produce your book anymore. You can do whatever the fuck you want without them. And
Thank you, Greg. I've been saying that for years.
Yeah,
but we didn't have the.
I haven't been opposed this whole time, Rob. I'm saying like that's why they're going down, is because they haven't adapted to the thing. There's a Malcolm Gladwell TED Talk where he talks about ice, and he talks about how the first people to get ice were digging it out of ponds, and they had no reason to innovate or do anything. And so till somebody came along and figured out how to make an ice box. And then they did really good, and they had no reason to innovate. And then somebody came along and was like, let's put this shit in a fridge, right? And like every stage, the people who were successful had no reason to innovate, no reason to move forward. And that's what's happened. Wizards of the Coast is making telegraphs and digging ice out of ponds, and we're moving forward without them.
And to be honest, we could have been doing this for the last 20 years, ever since the OGL license. But only now has the capability hit such a point that literally anybody can do it. A half a retard can actually publish a goddamn game book now without too much of a problem.
That's actually
actually we have the capability. We have the capability starting around 2018. The final piece of the puzzle was the Kickstarter, the crowdfunding.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And
That's when it really hit.
It is accelerated. It started ramping up even more than print on demand and PDF distribution got our foot in the door.
Yes.
But the Kickstarter is allowed with people like Kelsey and her team to get $1 million for their work.
Yep. And don't forget about drive-through.
But see,
drive-through is huge.
We fall into this apex fallacy a lot by focusing on people like Kelsey. No shade to her at all, but we don't need a handful of mega people. A regular person can make a reasonable amount of money, not a fortune, a reasonable amount of money doing it, more money than they could have going with a publisher. Just like how many authors, like fiction authors, have figured out that if they get $4 a book instead of 3 cents a book, they have to sell.
Well, Brian Sanderson made
in order to make this.
Brian Sanderson $40 million on a Kickstarter or some shit, right?
That's what I'm saying. Don't fall into this apex fallacy. Focus on the guy who's making $80K a year selling books, and he's happy with his life. That's what we want. I don't care how many megastars there are. I care about regular people who can make it.
I'm not. It's the point. The reason I'm pointing out Kelsey is that before that Shadow Dark Kickstarter hit, she was in the same boat as the rest of us. Now
That's right.
she, through a combination of hard work and a little bit of fortune, she got the $1 million. But yes, most of us are going to get a couple grand, but it's going to be a very nice return for the time we spend on it. However, there is, of course, a note of caution in all this, and the note of caution is that the new economy that we're in rewards those who are polymath, who are capable of wearing more hats. There are people, excellent writers, but all they're excellent at is writing, and there's nothing wrong with that. But my hope is that as we continue to do this and figure things out, we'll figure out a way to have room for them, the places for them to go, for the people who are just good at art, the people who are just good at cartography, the people who are just
forget about art, Rob.
Writing.
You know, AI art's going to destroy many artists' careers. I mean, it's going to be a side gig, if anything. You know.
Yeah, but
so let's just say AI art. AI art is never going to get to the point where it can just read your mind. In other words, if you look at everybody who uses AI art extensively, they learn how to write the prompts in order to get art that the art they want, the art that's consistent. And it turns out when you read up on everything that they do and all the hours, it's kind of time consuming to do that. They're sorting through a lot of duds in order to get that one piece.
But the thing is, here's the thing: you're not going to use an AI art for your cover of your player's handbook, right? You're going to hire somebody to make something exactly what you want, some high quality with a certain vision. But if you're put out a monster manual with 350 monsters in it, I'm typing in, give me a fucking orc, and I'm spitting out an orc that looks something like an orc, so I could use that thing in my monster manual because I'm not paying $25 for each little fucking thing in 350 times over in your monster manual, right?
Yeah,
but
Rob's
you'll pay a
point-
real artist.
I hate to defend AI here, Joe, but Rob's point is that you can't just say, give me an orc, you'll get a piece of shit. You have to say, I want a black and white lion art orc in this particular style and with a white background, and I want there to be I want him to be wearing this armor, and I want him to be standing in this pose, and I want him to be holding his axe in this way, and I want him to be doing this, and I need a little bird flying over his head, and do all kinds of stuff.
The learning curve, Greg. The learning curve.
Trick it. You have to. It's like you're having to trick it into doing what you want it to do. Whereas a person, you can just tell the artist, this is what I want.
But AI is free, and the artist is charging you $25 a pop.
Yeah, but
I will spend the time learning how to talk to an AI guy. You know,
it's like this. You know, if it so happened, there might be a project that winds up so huge that I can't do the writing and the map. So even though Rob Conley has the skill to do maps, or Rob Conley has the skill to do writing, the nature of the project could be such that it's better for me just to hire a writer or hire a cartographer, because I just simply don't have the time to do the project
that's where the market is for Rob AI. When I bring in, that's when you bring in Rob AI to write all your stuff, Rob.
Yep.
And then you can just sit back.
Yep.
There'll be multiple Rob AIs, and they can all handle those problems.
I just want to have a Rob AI and a Matt AI argue all day long, and just check in on them every once in a while, see where they're at.
That's already happening in our text chat.
I know. That's why I think it's so entertaining.
I've introduced bots that you guys haven't even seen. there's a Rob bot and there's a Matt bot, and they just occasionally argue with each other. And the Matt's set to, when it detects he's asleep, that's when it sends the Matt text. The same thing for Rob. I've been working on this for years, guys. It's already in force. Okay,
you mean you've been dreaming about it for years?
It's all the same.
Well,
I know your computer programming skill is shit, Greg.
It's true. That's true.
Let me ask a question. Why can't folks, right? If you're not good at everything, right? You can't do, why aren't there more collectives being formed? Why aren't there more? Because people do it like artists in real time, in real life. They have art houses. They have there's a place in Huntsville where it's a whole building dedicated to nothing but art. They can go room to room. They can do whatever they want there.
Yeah.
So why don't we see more collectives that says, okay, you know, whether they become an LLC or not, or whatever they want to do, but why don't we see more people just teaming up and saying, listen, why are we acting so independently? Why aren't we collectively putting our skills to work in some sort of format that works for us?
Honestly, Paul, I've said this before in some of these chats. Our little chat that we're all in there, you know, the D&D group chat, that is the collective. I mean, if you want to think about it, right?
Sure.
Everybody has a certain skill set. We're all good at some things, but some of us everybody's good at one thing in particular, and with a couple of subsets of skills. That is a collective that can be utilized, I think, by everybody in a way. You know, that could help us all. I mean, it's there. The opportunity is there. Everybody has something.
There's also, you have to consider that we're a hobby of misanthropes. I mean, a lot of people that have very, very strong personalities. They have trouble getting along with people. And then in any type of creative endeavor where you have people who are creating really unique ideas, idea-based things, not as much as when it's like visual arts and stuff like that, but idea creation, those people become the people who are successful at those industries are really, really strong personalities that don't get along, because the cooperative, agreeable people, they wash out because it's too tough. They give in to everybody else's idea. Yeah, in order to write some kind of really groundbreaking new thing, you got to say no to everybody else, right? And that's hard. So the people who rise to the top of that are Mr. Gunn. They're super. They I'm on Twitter for all sorts of RPG stuff, and all it is people arguing with no tact. You know, it'll be somebody will post something and they'll say, you know, I think that maybe sometimes we should do X. And then the first response tweet will be like, X is for fucking idiots and you're a retard. You know, like that. That's just the way that, or somebody will make it, they'll start out the post going, if you don't do X, you're a fucking retard. You know?
Right.
I mean, that's how it is. That's how it
is.
Isn't
nice.
The adage,
Reddit, you get worse.
Right. Isn't there still something too, right? We buy from people that we know, like, and trust.
Yes.
Right. That's right. So one of those things breaks down. When you start off a tweet like that, you're taking the likability factor out. And then there's so many people that complain and whine. Why don't people buy my stuff? Well, number one, nobody likes you. Okay. You're an idiot. And I don't want to give you my money, you jerk. Okay. If you're Wizard of the Coast, nobody trusts you and they don't know you.
Yeah.
So nobody wants any of that.
Well, let me give you a real example here, Paul. There's a guy on Twitter. You may know him, but I barely know him, named Condor DM. Okay.
If you really don't say that name out loud, man, because
if you really want to go down a rabbit hole.
Oh no, you're gonna make me look this up, aren't you?
Yeah. And this guy, he told everybody to go F themselves, and then he released a product that's 1,100 pages of basically unedited notepad document on drive-through for like $30, right? So all of these people are just like ripping into it, pulling all stuff. Yeah, that's what happens if you tell everybody to go F themselves. You're exactly right. It destroys your own product.
100%. And so, and when you have people, look, kindness goes a long way. Generosity goes a long way.
Yeah.
If you can, and sadly, even whichever, you know, in our hobby, you know, there's a lot of people who want to just own their own. So listen, if somebody said to me, if Greg said to me, hey, listen, can you put an ad in your zine for something that every time they download it, hey, I'll say, hey, you give me permission to use the thing in one of my zines, and I'll put an ad in the zine, and everybody who downloads it, there's a link then goes back to you. Right. So I just don't understand. I guess I don't understand why more people, other than the fact that they just cannot function with other people. They just cannot. They cannot seem to
Oh,
pull
Paul,
themselves together long enough because they hate money. They
Well,
hate
not only
it.
that,
Yeah,
Paul,
yeah.
I think he's more the misanthrope thing is the point for us, for the geek world, because I walked into that third hobby store, the big one, Rob. First of all, the gamer funk stench nearly knocked me on my ass. All
Oh,
right, I was
yeah.
like, "What the fuck?"
Harmony Ginger's been ranting on that this week. If
Oh
you
my
go on
god, it was
Twitter.
terrible. It was rancid. It was like, who the fuck died and didn't bury the body a month ago? It was that bad. And then I walk in there and I'm looking around. I'm like, now I see why. The fat rolls are everywhere. The dysfunctional body language and ways of speaking and interacting with everybody was rampant throughout the entire place. There had to be well over 120 people in this place. That's big, as Rob can attest to. And most of them playing Magic the Gathering. I mean, it was like the island of misfit toys from the
there's
fucking
your big
Rudolph show.
problem right there.
You know, it was a
Magic the Gathering.
goddamn disaster of humanity. You know, it was just terrible. It was terrible. And then these people had no social skills, no sense of how to act in the world. It was shit,
Yeah.
man.
I
Joe,
live in
Joe,
Atlanta.
they were
Dragon
playing
Con.
Magic the Gathering.
Dra-
Think
Some
about
are
it.
playing D&D.
What social skills do you need
Yeah.
for Magic the
But
Gathering?
But Rob, it's the same crowd, man.
yeah,
You know,
I live in
I don't know.
Atlanta. Every year I could go to Dragon Con. I don't. The reason is that the people who you go see at Dragon Con are the exactly what you said. Like the to me, the stress of dealing with all of those fucking people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if there was my mom's a big quilter. If there was a quilting convention, I have no problem going. I'm sure quilting people are nice.
There'd be no
No
stench
problem at
either.
all. I
Quilters
do.
don't stink.
Yeah,
You know?
but holy shit, man! I've said to my wife many times, the biggest problem with this hobby is the people. You know, like a lot of people, it's just really hard to get people you want to get along with.
Yeah.
You know, you're trying actively to get along with them, and they're so disagreeable that you just can't do it. You can't. Yeah, I could name a dozen names off the top of my head of people that I wish I could have a conversation with, and I
Yeah.
just can't because they're so vitriolic about things. Even when I'm on their side, I don't want to talk to them about what we're on the same side of. Right?
That's why
They could be talking about my favorite political candidate, and I would be like, I just can't be your friend. I'm sorry, like I just don't know what to do.
I'll tell you. That's why I wanted to. That's why I wanted to go up to Eric. I heard you talk about it. I made a stop by up in Massachusetts. I drove 2 hours to hang out for 3 hours to drive 2 hours back, just to be with my tribe because I knew up there I had my people. I had the older school guys. We were there, and then the people who I was hanging with, not dysfunctional, not weirdos. You know, the back of my head, because I did listen to your video you did with the whatever what was that group, Eric? What's his face on Rumble?
Oh, inappropriate characters?
Yeah. I saw the inappropriate character one. I heard some of that, and I heard you were on another one talking about the new convention that's coming up in New York State.
Oh yeah,
And-
that was with Tom and Don.
And I was thinking to myself, it'd be cool to maybe start a convention, and I was telling this to my brother, pipe dream, bucket list someday, run a convention in retirement age, maybe 5-7 years from now. But I would do it for old school only, not just because I like old school, but because it would keep the detritus out. They won't show up. You know what I'm saying? The ones who were still around, it would be a whole different scene there. All those people wouldn't be
You
around.
want
They
to target
wouldn't
the
show.
40 to 50-year-old demographic.
Yeah, that's it. Nothing below that, I mean, holy crap. Just talking to the dude at the counter at that big store, it was just like his body language, his way of speaking, his vibe. He was like an alien from another planet, Everything about him was weird. Fucking weird.
Well, I constantly on Twitter's, this times a million. Like I constantly am running into people who I are on the same side of everything as me politically, but that's all they post constantly. And I'm like, I don't want to fight about this stuff all the time.
Yeah.
Like, just leave it. Let's talk
Yeah.
about elves, anything but this shit. I have too many people where I see it says follow back, and I'm like, don't know, because I don't want my stream to be full of, even though I agree with it, I don't want it to be the only thing that's dominating my discourse every day.
Right.
Yeah. It's just it's brutal. I really want to bring people into the hobby. I try to do that, but I understand why they would be if their experience is going into BO gaming room and there's a bunch of guys that are living at 2 charisma. I
Dude,
get it.
It hit me like a brick in the face when I walked in the door. It's like,
Right.
boom.
I
What
had
the
to
fuck?
tell certain individuals
Well,
when I
and
ran a
two-
LARP chapter to go get a fucking shower.
And listen, we don't shop at places that
Happened
are
3
right?
times. I did not enjoy any of those time because I don't
What was
want to
that,
be
Paul?
telling people to take fucking showers.
Yeah. My wife had to discipline a guy at work over 10 years ago, so it's fair game to talk about now.
And then there was the one time I had to tell a
because he just
person
kept-
not to take a shower because he was taking a shower with a female companion, and we don't do that at the event.
That's a good way
Nowadays,
to
you
try to
can't get
get
away
more
with that, right?
viewers, Rob, to talk that up. But, yeah, so my wife had some guy she had to discipline at work one time because he kept farting in his cubicle, and it's just people around were choking. You know, I mean, this is in an office.
Oh, that's great.
People are just If you're with 20 people, the odds of one of them having a 3 charisma is high.
Yeah,
that
try
sounds like an
events with
episode of
100
The
people,
Office.
Greg, and then you'll see
Yeah,
the
I
flower of
know.
humanity.
But
Look,
Paul, you were
I-
saying something before, but we got overrun by all of
Preaching
us.
to a
Well,
non-LARPer, Rob. I get it.
Paul got
Go ahead,
overrun by
Paul.
all of us there
Yeah,
for a
go
minute.
ahead, Paul.
What were
No,
you saying?
all I was saying, I was talking about, there's game stores. I think there's to anything. I think there's just an aversion to chaos in terms of, I've been in game stores that were so filthy and so disorganized, like everything was in boxes or some stupid nonsense like that. We've all been in a store
Yeah.
like that, right? But I just think there's an aversion. I don't know who likes that. I don't know who likes to be around just filth and so yeah, you have the gamers, but then you have the game stores that are not, and you got 500 old posters on your windows that nobody can see
Yeah,
in your store.
it's like the
and-
equivalent of a dive bar.
I mean,
An
yeah,
ancient dive
you're
bar.
going in
Yeah.
blind. You don't know what's in there. It's scary in there.
Yep.
You have, really, when you used to introduce people, you could do it en masse, right? You'd say, come to the game store. Now it's guerrilla warfare. Now it's, you have to pick your elite team of people that's going to sit around the table and is going to make the best possible impression.
I know it's in
whoever's
those
gonna
game
play.
stores, Paul.
Yes.
My 6-year-old son at the time could find it. It was a Bionicle, a vintage Bionicle from the first run of Bionicle. There's a game store that's not filthy, but cluttered in Cleveland called the Ward Zone Matrix that me and Tim are trying to get Joe to go see. But I took my kid up there one time, and we were walking down the aisle, and it was lined with boxes, just like you said. He stopped, cocks his head, reaches into the box, like, oh my God, what's happening? Is it going to be a rat or something? And he pulls out, never been open, perfect in the package, vintage Bionicle from a year before he was born. And it was still at list price. So
You never know. I mean, when I hit Complete Strategist once, I was going to meet Eric down there with Press of Dungeon Master and all those guys, and I got there stupid early, and they had just opened. It was a rainy day. Nobody was in there. And I decided I was finally going to do a deep dive onto that lower bottom shelf. You know what I'm talking about, Eric? That low shelf that's always blocked by a shit ton of boxes that nobody looks at. So I laid on that disgusting carpet that I've been vacuuming in 40 years, and I just started moving boxes, and I did it one section at a time. And I found a shit ton of Gary Gygax's Dangerous Journeys modules. I snagged them all marked at the original, whatever, $9 price. I grabbed every goddamn one of them. It was a treasure trove. Yeah, you never know what you're gonna get as you get down there. I got fucking probably goddamn 3 diseases from laying on that rug, but it was worth it.
They talk like this, and then people are skeptical about that there could be groups willing to go into a dungeon with goblins looking for hidden treasures. I mean, it can happen, folks.
It can happen to
It
you.
can happen in real life.
It can. It absolutely can.
So before I met you guys, I did get to go to Complete Strategist, and that's what happened with this.
There you got
this
those?
is a bottom shelf find from the Complete Strategist in New York.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a giant sheet Oh, includes if you want to make your own war game, little cardboard kit. But yep.
Nice.
And because you can't get these anymore, I'm afraid to draw on it. I found a hex grid that I gave Tim half of it, and he and I had not drawn on it because I don't know. Tim can answer why he hasn't drawn on his, but on me, I'm afraid I had never have anything worthy to draw
But
on
you
it.
put it in plexiglass or something like
Yeah,
that.
you can buy
Slide it
these
in.
things, Rob, and they're magnetic and they hold it really nice and tight, if you want to. Something like this.
Well, yeah, but you're not going to game that. I mean, I'm not going to draw a whole Rob Conley style hand drawn map on plexiglass,
Why not?
and they're not battle
Don't you
maps.
love your players or what? He's
Yeah.
full of hatred.
Scrooge.
Come on.
I don't know.
Listen, guys, I gotta go. My
Maybe
brothers
something
let me
I'll
know.
do
We're gonna go out and grab a
but
beer.
yeah,
So
Yep.
I am
Go
off.
for it.
But it's good to
Alright.
see y'all.
Hey,
I
take
will-
that
All right,
$5 with you and buy a drink on me.
Yeah. Never. Then I can't taunt you with it forever, dude.
He needs to save that money and spend it on art for Bloody Island.
Bloody Island, yes. Blood-filled island. All right. See y'all later.
You're good.
yeah, Jeff.
Well, it's nearly the witching hour anyway. Probably, I don't think we're going to beat the last 45 minutes of this show. Holy crap!
And you're right, Fugly. And now I got my super duper Epson printer, and I finally found 13-inch by 19-inch paper. Yeah, so I could print my own. So
But,
what's
but
the
now you
point?
got vintage, Rob. You got vintage.
Yes, I got vintage. And now I sometimes open it up like I did, open the drawer, look at it, and say, "My precious, my own." I can make you the ultimate war game in my dreams, and I just put it away.
See, now
Uh,
maybe an AI could take Rob's face and put it on Gollum and have him going, "My precious." Wait, we could get
Look,
that.
I
going.
don't need to.
I'm going
I
to see
know,
if Croc can
you
do
know, you
that
keep
right
talking
now.
like
Let's
this
see.
is going to be the
Listen.
cause of your divorce, Greg. I mean, the way you love this, Rob, AI, it's making me extremely uncomfortable here.
Well, sorry.
I'm getting.
Yeah, I
Listen,
gotta have-
I'm getting a bit
Everybody needs a
uncomfortable.
hobby, Rob.
I would like to play my X card.
Yeah. X card.
X card. Let's stop right there. Thank you. Let's
No
change that.
more. No more.
Now you put me in a
God.
difficult position. If I honor
Yeah,
the
because you
X
can't
card,
X card. You can't
If I-
X card,
if
fucker,
I
because you don't
honor
have
the
an
X
actual
card,
image.
I'm endorsing its use. I can't do that. But I
You
also
can't.
don't want to keep talking about Rob AI all night.
Well, can you use lines and veils or something then? Can we just put it behind? Like this happens over there.
Yes. Fade to black. Fade to black.
Hey, we still have
My
21
avatar for
viewers
the
on
next
YouTube.
show is going to be Rob as Gollum, I think. We'll see.
Well, make it so, man. Because if you don't make it so, it ain't gonna happen. Listen, I gotta thank Joe for popping in. Totally caught us off guard. Me with my pants down. Maybe literally. I have no idea. I can't tell
X card.
you. Folks, tomorrow's a live stream with myself, my wife Rach, at Gamers Health. There will be during the week a random daytime live stream with randomish hosts. What can I tell you? We try to get our friends across the pond at a time where I don't have to stay up till like 3 a.m. drinking tea and coffee. So we're trying some afternoons. But we're getting mostly those people like Joe playing hooky from work during their lunchtime. I'm just serious. I'm at work on lunch, but I'm listening to you guys make me laugh. We're here to perform. Folks, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. The link on the bottom of the screen is tankars-tavern.game/support. We work on affiliate links. So we don't do paid advertising. We don't have sponsors. We don't beg for money. I could, but I don't. But if you are going to do some shopping at drive-through, Amazon, or Humble Bundle, you can go to those links below. Other than that, yes, Rory, tea. I'll be having tea tonight. Irish black tea. Go figure. On that note, be safe, be well. God bless. Roll those dice. Roll them well.